and thank you for tuning into the Corner Office. This is Steven Bronken here, and this is Season 2, Episode 1. And our special guest is Greg Beatty, Chief Operating Officer of Decha & Co. Limited out of Bangkok, Thailand. Additionally, Greg's got some wonderful experience in the hospitality industry, as he was previously the Managing Director of APAC for Guest Tech, and before that, he was the COO for Docomo Intertouch. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Corner Office. How are you making out today?
Great, Steve. Happy to be here. I see the our office today looks a little empty, but I understand that you have thousands of viewers on the Corner Office, yeah. So that kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, thousands or tens of viewers, I think. But we're getting there. Our goal is thousands.
Okay, so Joe Rogan doesn't have any competition yet, then, right? But no. You're on your way. You're on your way.
We're nipping at his heels. Maybe a few feet behind, but we're coming for him. All right, so let's get started. Of course, easy question. What are you drinking today?
Well, today, like most days, I have this copper beer that's brewed in Thailand. It's a craft beer, and it's 4.5% alcohol. And it's a nice tasting beer. I discovered it about a year ago, and I'm really enjoying it. But if your questions do get hard, I do have the backup beer for our American friends. So I have the Budweiser here, letting people know that this is available in Thailand, but it has 5% alcohol. So that's for the harder questions.
So I'm drinking a Rickard's Radler since it's the first day of summer. So it's a grapefruit beer, actually, and it was developed by cyclists of all things. So it's got a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of beer, and I feel more athletic just drinking it.
That's great. So in terms of I guess we need to start out the session here with a joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I noticed on the last week's Corner Office that your CEO, Sean Gorman, he set the bar pretty high. I don't think I've ever heard a joke with the words anvil and goat in it. I mean, certainly I've never heard a goat joke before, but I guess that's what a Princeton education gets you. Now, anvil's, of course, a 2-syllable word, and I'm going to up the ante here. I have a Colby education and just up the road from Princeton. So I'm going to go with a 3-syllable word, and my key word is banana. So why did the banana have to go to the hospital?
Why?
It wasn't peeling well.
Oh. You got to have a better joke than that.
Okay, I can try this one with, I'll go with 4 syllables.
All right.
So the other night I was watching an origami championship. It was on pay-per-view. All right, that's about as good as they get. That's about as good as they get.
The company that put that on, they're not around anymore. I think they folded.
All right. Not a bad pun.
All right. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of it. As you know, this is our first episode of Season 2, so the questions have changed a little bit. We're no longer focusing on the melancholy of COVID-19 coming. We're now focusing on optimism and everything opening up. And really, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show is your perspective. You're based in Bangkok, Thailand, of course. You have a thorough experience in the hospitality industry that you know, if you could tell us about that as well as part of your answer would be great. But what are you seeing over in the Asia Pacific area?
The very quick bio. Mm-hmm. Because on this call, I'm not selling anything. I'm not in the hotel industry at the moment. I did spend 12 years as an IT vendor to the Hyatts, the Hiltons, the Marriotts. I worked for 2 global companies that put in the Wi-Fi systems and authentication systems and IPTV systems. So we serviced all their hotels outside of North America, or not all their hotels, but about 1,000 hotels across 60 countries. My role was Chief Legal Counsel and COO. So I had dual roles throughout my 12 years. In terms of what I'm seeing here, I'm now based in Bangkok, where I've spent mostly the past 28 years. Bangkok has 13 million people. It has about 30 million tourists a year. In 2019, about 30 million. Wow. It's roughly, tourism represents about 20% of the economy. So I think Bangkok is a good case study for what's happening here.
Yeah.
I'm living sort of in the Times Square area of Bangkok. So there's a lot of hotels in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what I can tell you is they've all been closed for the last 3 months, but they are expected to open up July the 1st. So I think what's going to happen is the hotel industry in Thailand is expected to be driven by domestic demand. I think the resort hotels are going to be looking to do better than the business hotels. And then in terms of guest experience, the hotels are already running promotional campaigns on cleanliness and health and safety protocols.
Okay.
So what's happening with domestic demand? So the hotels right now are offering discounts of roughly 50%. So stay one night, or stay 2 nights, pay for 1 night.
Yeah.
Or you can get vouchers. A lot of hotels are doing the vouchers now, where if you spend, let's say $100 on a voucher, you'll get $150 worth of spend at the hotel. The Bangkokians, people living and working in Bangkok, are going out to the resort hotels. So the city hotels are going to suffer a little bit longer because typically they rely on the international traveler, and they're not coming in yet. Okay. We're not actually sure when international travel will start up in Thailand. So the hotel industry is all about domestic demand here. I've talked to a couple of hotel owners, and I say, what's the occupancy rate that you need to open? And the typical answer is 30%. And when they do open up, of course, they won't open up all the rooms, they'll open up certain floors. So they're looking for at least 30%. And of course, they might not make a profit until, 70% or so, right? So profit might be a little bit out of the question for 2020 and 2021, but at least they'll get some business with that minimal occupancy, and it'll be worth opening up if they can get that threshold of 30%.
Do you have any recommendations for others, to help them open up, other than some of the sales practices that you've mentioned?
Some of the more innovative things I'm seeing are hotels are reaching out to nearby hospitals to build up alliances and relationships so that they can, again, give more assurances to their guests that if something does go wrong, the guest and the hotel staff has access to a nearby hospital. So I'm seeing those alliances being built as well. The other innovative thing I'm hearing about is augmenting the guest experience. So looking to sell more services. I mean, the typical one that we've always seen is when you arrive at your arrival airport, you might take the hotel taxi to the hotel, right, instead of a public taxi. So why not extend that to the other airport? So in terms of the guest arrival, I'll call it curb to lobby. So the guest is at the curb in their home country. Why not do that taxi service, right? Okay. Because the other thing is that the guests are going to want to be in a health bubble from the time they leave their place, right? Not just at the hotel, not just in a hotel taxi. They want to make sure that they have the health and safety protocols being followed. Public taxis might not have the same stringent procedures in place that hotels can do, right? So if hotel can join up with certain taxi companies or taxi outfits, there could be some auxiliary services rendered by the hotel through that sort of thing.
Where do you see the industry going now? Is in the next year, 2 years, 3 years out? What's the shift, so to speak, or the adjustment that you see in our industry?
Okay. If I look into my crystal ball, I think there's going to be, I'll call it less global travel, and more regional travel. Well, I'll say more domestic travel. That will definitely increase. Maybe countries will come up with campaigns like "Discover Your Own Country." I remember when I was growing up, my dad sort of frowned on my desire for international travel. He felt that I should discover my own country first.
Yeah.
So maybe there will be some national campaigns where countries will say, have your staycation in your home country, discover your home country. So I think that domestic travel will certainly prevail. Step 2 will be, I'll call it regional travel. So, the travel bubbles that previous to this call, you mentioned that Canada has some travel bubbles. And Asia is also looking at the travel bubbles as well, which are basically the bilateral arrangements between the countries here. But those are only going to happen with countries that sort of have equal control over the COVID-19 crisis, right? Yeah. So I could see it happening certainly between Thailand and, say, Japan or South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, even China now. I know that there's been a recent outbreak in Beijing, but by and large, they jumped on that rather quickly. Thailand has a strong relationship with China. So I see a travel bubble happening there. As well, but Thailand will be selective in its the countries that it elects to do a travel bubble with. But I think that's where we're going to start to see regional travel happen. In terms of international, greater international travel between Asia and Europe, or Asia and North America, again, that's going to be country dependent. Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, the U.S. has further to go in getting it under control. And what the traveler has to be worried about is not just, let's say, an Asian traveler going to the US or Canada and worrying about the quarantine and the requirements there, but also getting back into their home country, right? So right now, Thailand still has in place a 14-day quarantine. Now that might eventually drop down to 5 days or 2 days of quarantine, but you have to be worried about the protocols that are in place in your home country, not just the destination country.
As you and I both are large international travelers, I mean, this venue, for example, is JW's at the bottom of the JW Marriott in Dubai, where you and I had dinner several years ago. I mean, we love to travel, right? It's a great experience, and it's definitely going to be a huge shift and a huge change and a learning curve for folks like us to get back to our normal, I guess you can say, or the new normal, although that's used a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Dubai, and I had the benefit of spending 4 years there and traveling throughout the Middle East and Africa, and I loved it. And we had a great time at that hotel. I remember we had a great steak dinner and a nice bottle of red wine.
Several bottles of red wine. Yeah.
All right, but we're not supposed to... What stays at the JW Marriott?
Right. Just one. Small.
So, but I think what's going to happen is, I think 2020 is going to be, a miserable year for travel, right? And it's going to extend in part of 2021 as well. However, once it picks back up, I mean, there will be a pent-up demand for travel, right? And once people start having that first trip, that second trip, they're going to get back into the groove and want to do it again, right? Yeah. I think it's going to be off to a slow start, only because of the routes won't open up. All the routes aren't going to open up, from day one, right? Yeah. The airlines are going to open up route by route by route. And as they open up and make sure that they have a proper cost basis for that, it will develop, unfold, to use the origami expression. It will unfold, over a couple of years, I think. It's going to take a while to get back.
It was a pleasure, of course, having you on, and it's great to see you again. It's been a few years, I guess, since the last time we were in each other's company. So it's definitely good to have you on the show, and thank you very much for your unique perspective on this, and for bringing, Asia and what's going on over there in Thailand to us. As I mentioned, you're the first outside of North American guest that I've had on the show. So, I think it's a great way to open up season 2, because it's a new approach, and it's, gives us information on what's going on in these other markets. So I greatly appreciate having you here, and cheers, and thank you very much.
Steve, thanks for the opportunity, and all the best to you and Sean and the rest of the team at Safety NetAccess. And I've always enjoyed socializing with you guys. And I wish you all the success as we go through this the COVID period, post-COVID period. So.
Yeah, you bet. Well, cheers. Cheers, Greg. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Corner Office. Special thanks to Greg Beatty for being my guest. I've included his LinkedIn contact information below, should you wish to reach out to him. Additionally, for more information on Safety NetAccess, our products and our services, please visit our website at www.safetynetaccess.com. And if you like what we're doing here on The Corner Office, please don't hesitate to subscribe. We'd love to have you. Until next time, be safe, be healthy, be well, and hey, don't forget to be happy. Cheers, everyone.